So, hello, everybody. We have about 3 minutes, actually, before we go live. So, I'm just a little bit early, and I will start right at 4 o'clock. So, talk amongst yourselves while I share out this live stream. Give me just a second. Let's see. There we go. No, we're looking for something. There we go. Oh, we have 2 people so far. Hey, y'all. We're going to start in just a minute. We got about 3 minutes. I am just sharing out the live stream, so please talk amongst yourself while I'm doing so. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let me make sure that it actually shared. And then I will start our little chit chat. Ah, here we go. Okay, I can see myself right there. Perfect. Okay, I don't need to look at that any longer. Make sure that's turned down. Let me get my notes in some sort of order. Let's see. Ah, here we go. Okay. All right. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to. Hold on one second. Okay, good. I'm sorry. I thought the mic was off. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Lovely from the Library. Today, we are going to be reading a really good book, and it is The People's Hospital by Dr. Ricardo Nuila. I have a few announcements before we jump into this. So let me pop my head back on here. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for your time. Hello, live stream viewers. Hello, replay viewers. Thank you all for giving me a little piece of your time so we can discuss today's book. Now, before we jump into the discussion, we have a few announcements to make. So let me see if I'm doing this right. One second, y'all. I have to, please forgive me and my Technical difficulties. I am double checking a couple things. Here we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, perfect. All right, so the first announcement that I want to talk about is summer reading, but let me make sure I'm actually sharing my screen because I don't think I am. Let me see. I'm not. Hold on one second. We're sharing the screen and we are doing yes. Boom. Boom. Okay. Summer reading. So we are still doing summer reading. It is from June the 1st to July the 31st. We still will be accepting game boards all the way up until August the 5th. That is a Sunday. And that's because the 31st is like ends in the middle of the week. I believe it's like a Wednesday or something like that. So we'll still be taking game boards all the way up to August the 5th, which is the Sunday. But technically, summer reading ends on the 31st. You can still turn in your game boards to get all kind of cool prizes. We're giving out coupons. We are giving out snacks and candy and prizes. And also, more importantly, we're giving out books as well. So you can get your game boards here if you need extra ones. Sorry, that is there. You can register your game board online. All you have to do is click on this link. Also, you can download game boards for ages 0 to 8. That means babies, y'all. And then from 9 to 18. And of course, you qualify for all the different prizes and grand prizes. And again, thank you, summer reading sponsors. I'm going to scroll up so you can see who all these wonderful people are who help us to make summer reading possible. Thank you so much. Now, we're going to go to the next announcement. Now that I know where to go, I'm so proud of me. Bum, 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 bum. If you all did not know, we have an app. The Pueblo City County Library has an app. There's a whole bunch of cool things that you can do on the app. You can manage your account. You can search the collection. You can create and view book lists. You can see the programming, the programs and events. And this is what it looks like on your cell phone. So as you can see, you can browse the entire catalog. You can use your phone camera to scan an item or barcode and search for it in the library catalog. You can create a custom home screen, and then you can reserve meeting rooms and view library programs and more. It's a really cool app. And you can also, let me stop sharing the screen. You can also use the app to organize our other apps like the Cloud Library, Hoopla, and Libby. The theme of the app is one app to rule them all. And honestly, if you can give me the literary reference that quote is from, because it's a literary reference, you either give me the literary reference or complete the quote, then you win a prize. And the prize is you're part of the Cool Kid Club. And I'll announce what the actual, hey, Penny, how are you? Hi, Penny. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. So yes, I'll announce what that literary reference is. Penny, if you know the literary reference, I think it's kind of cheating though, since you work for the library. But if you're at home, technically you're not at work. Either way, just tell me what the literary reference is before the end of the live stream. And if you get it right, then I'll give you a high five next time you come in. I might even have a little prize for you. Anyway, the app's tagline is one app to rule them all. Oh, Penny, you got it. Penny's like, I am in. Yes, Penny, you got it. One app to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. Okay, so now that we've got those announcements done, let me just add this back to the stage. Okay, so, and Penny just said, and in the darkness bind them. Okay, so let me move my big head out of here. Okay, so this is Dr. Ricardo Nuila. Dr. Ricardo Nuila is a writer, a teacher, and a practicing doctor. He is an associate professor of medicine, medical ethics, and health policy at Baylor College of Medicine, where he directs the Humanities, Expression, and Arts Lab, or the HEAL program. All right, so let me just read the book synopsis for you while you pay attention to that awesome quote right up there. Where does one go without health insurance when turned away by hospitals, clinics, and doctors? In the People's Hospital, physician Ricardo Nuila's stunning debut, we follow the lives of five uninsured Houstonians as their struggle for survival leads them to a hospital where insurance comes second to genuine care. First, we meet Stephen, the restaurant franchise manager who signed up for his company's lowest price plan, only to find himself facing insurmountable costs after a cancer diagnosis. Then Christian, a young college student and retail worker who can't seem to get an accurate diagnosis, let alone treatment, for his debilitating knee pain. Geronimo, 36-year-old, has liver failure, but his meager disability check disqualifies him for Medicaid and puts a life-saving transplant just out of reach. Roxana, who's lived in the community without a visa for more than 2 decades, suffers from the complications related to her cancer treatment. And finally, there's Ebony, a young mother whose high-risk pregnancy endangers her life, whether because of immigration status, income, or the varieties of state medical law. All five are denied access to care. For all of them, this exclusion could prove life-threatening. Each patient eventually lands at Ben Taub, the county hospital where Dr. Nuila has worked for more than a decade. Nuila delves with empathy into the experiences of his patients, braiding their dramas into a singular narrative that contradicts the established idea that the only way to receive good health care is with good insurance. As readers follow the moving, rendered twists and turns in each patient's story, it's impossible to deny that our system is broken and that Ben Taub's innovative model, which emphasizes people over payments, could help light the path forward. All right. So let me pop my head back in here. Hold on a second, y'all. That's a small head pop. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, so you know what? Hang on, because I can't see it now because there we go. So some of the themes and tropes that I noticed in the book were how there were inequalities or inequities that Dr. Nuila was showing us, some of the day-to-day realities of a lot of these patients, obstacles in healthcare and access, and then innovation and reform. So, all right. I'd like to start off by reading an excerpt from the book. I think it will help set the stage for those of you who hadn't had a chance to finish or start the book. I think this is a really good place to start off. So I'm just going to read an excerpt. It's from the very beginning of the book. So if you guys actually have the book, if you want to follow along, you can. As usual, this book is also available in audiobook form. It is available on the Libby app, which is free with your library card. And actually, I have it checked out. So I'm going to return it after the live stream, and then you could check it out if you want the audio version. Okay. The rumor we heard was that the patients arrived with hand-drawn maps, our hospital marked like treasure. The stately Nigerian lady who responded, "Yes, doctor," to everything, metastatic breast cancer. The boy with the black curly hair wearing red Converse All-Stars and a Judas Priest t-shirt that screamed Mexico City, acute lymphatic leukemia. The grandmother with the sari snagged in the guardrails, chest pains, real chest pains, might need a bypass. We stood at these patients' bedsides. We wrote down their histories. We said we were sorry for examining them with cold hands. We ordered blood tests, interpreted EKGs, scrolled through their CAT scans. We input diagnoses. We weren't just doctors. Among us were nurses, social workers, x-ray techs, the people who rode up and down the hallways in the middle of the night waxing floors. Some of us wore white coats with frayed sleeves and busted pockets. Others, tight-fitting scrubs embroidered with our names. In our bad moments, we became tribal. We were ortho, medicine, plastics, the 4A nurses. We only covered the unit. More often, though, the needs of our patients were so damn immediate, we found a way to work as one. We ran blood transfusion, heparin drips, and morphine pumps when narco didn't touch the pain. When COVID came, we gave oxygen together, one of us twisting the knob on the valve while the other inserted those tiny prongs into flared nostrils. We consulted one another when things looked dicey. Surgery if we found boils, ID for antibiotics, and if anything looked remotely like a seizure, a twitch, a rolling of the eyes, we paged neurology overhead. If transportation was swamped, we wheeled them ourselves to MRI, to special procedures, to the cath lab, even the ICU. How downtrodden we looked when we did this, like beaten dogs. We figured out ways to make things work. Not enough money for your meds? We Googled the $4 list at Walmart. Muscles too weak? We dug up We dug up a refurbished walker from the basement. Dying and homeless and alone? We called in a favor from the hospice that used to be a Tudor-style home. And when our work was done, once we could envision some not dying within 24 hours of our discharge order, once the first chemo had gone in, once we could be sure their chief complaint was addressed, the thought still lingered in our minds. What brought them here? What are their stories? Ben Taub Hospital, the largest safety net hospital in one of America's most diverse cities. We are Heathrow if you replace the Emirates and the Virgin Atlantic planes with Greyhound buses. There are no atriums with pianists playing Here Comes the Sun to welcome you. No soothing sounds of running water from hidden speakers or gasp from the actual indoor waterfall. There is no Starbucks. Our cafeteria serves some form of barbecue most days for lunch and packaged salads topped with eggs or chicken strips. That is, unless you prefer the full menu McDonald's located inside the hospital that's open 23 hours a day. We do have a gift shop, though. It looks more like a convenience store, heavily stocked with greeting cards. Not the pun-filled ones, rather the kind that get the point across. Condolences, available in Spanish too. If you type Ben Taub into Google Maps, you'll find it crammed between the Houston Zoo and 30 other institutions that make up the Texas Medical Center, the largest concentration of medical facilities in the world. Some of the field's most important innovations took place in this medical metropolis. The first successful bypass, the first artificial heart transplant, the first beatless artificial heart. Imagine that, no lub dub, just constant worrying. The first silicone breast implant, and one of the first civilian helicopter ambulance, the Bubble Boy, all here. Not that the patients at Ben Taub know this. Some may have heard that MD Anderson is rated top in the country in cancer care, or that Houston Methodist, you might find yourself fortunate enough to have a robot operate on your prostate. And the TV ads air in Spanish too. It's possible that at night our patients look out their windows and behold the sparkle of so many new glass buildings, some of them named after billionaire sheiks, I think it's sheiks, who sell the oil that becomes their gas. More likely, they're looking out in the direction of the zoo, toward the parking garage and bus stop, wondering how they will get home. Woo! So I think that is one heck of an intro. Part of the reason why I chose this book for the book club is because, as y'all know, I'm from Texas. I never really miss an opportunity to remind y'all I'm from Texas. But some of y'all might not know I've lived in about 5 different cities in Texas, and one of them was Houston. And when I was in the 3rd grade, my parents could not afford health insurance for all 5 of us. So I actually went to Ben Taub. I would catch whooping cough every year. And I went to Ben Taub, and I think that was the first year since my family had moved from Denver to Texas that the whooping cough stopped coming back. They gave me some medicine. I remember getting it, going down to the pharmacy in the hospital. We didn't actually have to go to a separate pharmacy and getting it. and keeping it, and the whooping cough never came back. But until then, I sounded like a baby seal, like every season. So Bentab is very near and dear to my heart because I used it myself when I was in Houston. So uh, let's just kind of jump into how the book is structured. One of the things that I thought that I would mention, hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, okay. One of the things that I thought I would mention too is I did not have health insurance back then when I was in the third grade, and I received very, very good care. Recently in my life, I think it might have been 2 or 3 years ago, I ended up being hospitalized. I was very sick, and I ended up having fluid around my heart and in my lungs. And I received very good medical care. I have health insurance, but it got a little dicey toward the end there. And depending on how much time we have, I might go into a little bit of detail. But even when you have good health insurance, sometimes you as a person, the container that you are presenting to the people that are trying to help you can still cause some disparages to happen, some maybe not so much medical treatment. And I'm bringing this up because one of the things that Dr. Nuila does to emphasize some of the points in the book is he weaves people's personal stories throughout this book, and it all ties together with how their lack of insurance or just being merely underinsured affected their health all the way until they got up to Ben Taub. And one of the things that he addresses is the mortality rate for Black women and their pregnancy. In the cases of Ebony, she is one of the patients that he talked about. And I think I experienced a little bit of that at the hospital where I was. And my point was, is that the doctors that were very kind and nice to me and treated me like a human being, they actually took the time to get to know me more than she's in here because she has fluid on her lungs. They actually didn't know what was wrong with me. They still don't know. They think I caught some sort of virus. And that's why I developed fluid around my lungs and heart. I wonder what virus it could have been. I wonder what virus is major right now that it could have been. I made them give me a COVID test. They said I didn't have it, but I'm like, are you sure, friend? Because I've never had fluid around my lungs before. Anywho, the one doctor who was very rush and to me very mean, and I'm not going to name her name, even though I remember it, and I'm not going to name the hospital, but this doctor, I think she must have looked at something in my chart, and she had already had her mind made up about me before she even came into the room. And I could just tell, and it was really scary and awful because I'm on all these different medicines, and she was rushing me and being mean. And yes, I could chalk that up to her having a bad day. I think it was a little bit more than that. And the deal is this, is that her attitude toward me could have cost me my life. And I'm not even joking about this. They couldn't tell how much fluid was in my lungs. And I was concerned about, well, can I just reabsorb this? What's going to happen? I wasn't getting very good advice. They kept acting like they couldn't tell me what to do, even though they were the doctors. Little did I know it had to do with insurance, and they weren't sure if the insurance was going to cover it or not. Thank goodness for the CNAs. I had a really good CNA. If it wasn't for him, I probably would have died, to be quite honest. So anyway, one of the aftercare doctors, I was there twice, and this doctor was really just not, she was a mean person. She was not being kind to me at all. And I was concerned about some of the side effects of taking the fluid out of my lungs. And she was like, well, your lung could collapse, but there's like a 3% chance or 1 point something. They said that the percentage was very low. So she leaves. And then the guy comes in to take the fluid out of my lungs. And he starts asking me questions, trying to get to know me. Turns out he was from Nepal. We bonded over him being from Nepal and me coming from a Buddhist family. And so we started talking about that. By the way, I had a whole liter of fluid around my lungs. And that's why it was so hard for me to breathe, because my lungs couldn't expand. And by the way, my lung did collapse when he was removing it. So I ended up removing the fluid, not the lung. I still got my lungs. And I ended up having to stay in the hospital longer. thank goodness that I was able to connect with him in a personal way. Oh, yes. And Penny says, unfortunately, doctors are notorious for dismissing women and girls' pain. Yes, they are. And if you come in and you have any other intersectionalities, like if you are Black or a POC, or if you are queer or part of the LGBTQIA LGBTQIA community, that can be another layer. In my case, my CNA was also LGBT plus, and so we bonded over that, and he helped me navigate through all of this. I cannot remember that man's name, but I think of him often, and I hope he has the best life ever, and that he has his cold beverages in his cooler all the time. I got the perfect outfit, because I'm convinced that that man saved my life just by giving me some advice that this last doctor was, for whatever reasons, not wanting to give me. So I say all this to say that even when you do have insurance, if you get a doctor on the wrong day, that it could really cost you so many different things. And it is it's stuff like that is addressed in this book. One of the things that he talks about is, hang on, because I have so many notes. That is a wonderful book. I really, really love the book too. While I'm looking for this note, I love it because Dr. Nuila is not preaching to the choir. He comes from 3 generations of doctors: his grandfather, his father, and him. His grandfather and his father practiced in El Salvador. His father ended up practicing in Houston, and Dr. Nuila practiced in Houston as well. Let me see where it says in here. It is about talking to the people. Hang on a minute, because I think that's super, super important. Because here we go. Hold on a minute, y'all. Here we go. So he talks about the way that they are running Ben Taub. Ben Taub is what's known as a safety net hospital, and that's a hospital whose mission is to fill in the gaps of the American healthcare for those who can't get insurance, or wait, for those who can't get insurance. So these type of hospitals can be public, or they're nonprofit or for profit. And I said can't get insurance. It's for the uninsured or underinsured, or for whatever reason you might not be able to get insurance. Anyway, they have like a lot of different programs that help empower the people who work at that hospital, and teach them how to be caring. And it says right here, the hospital wards tell another part of the story. Here, patients encounter not just medical treatment, but compassion and dignity. Hang on a second. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm reading like so many different things. The roles of the medical staff at the People's Hospital are multifaceted. Doctors and support staff are not just healthcare providers, they're advocates, educators, and often confidants. And I'm pointing this out because, well, y'all know I work at a library, and I find that the library work can be life-changing. And if I have a bad day, maybe you don't get your hold, or I don't put in your interlibrary loan properly, and you have to wait a few more weeks to get it, or something like that. But to empower doctors to see patients as human and treat them with dignity is so important, because if they have a bad day, it could cost somebody their life. If they look at somebody with bias in their heart and they're not even aware of it, it could literally irrevocably change somebody's life or cost someone their life. And I'm not saying that people can't have bad days or anything like that. I really think that lady was I think she might have been neurospicy. My guess is she was autistic, and I'm saying that because I'm autistic too. And I think our autisms were just bumping up against each other. But I was the one that was sick in the hospital, not her. Anywho, that's enough about me. I'm just pointing that out, that a lot of these stories are a lot closer to home. It's 6 degrees of separation on how you get treated. And it's something that we need to address, because the way we treat our most vulnerable people is a reflection on our society. The other thing that I like is that This book is not preaching to the choir. It is not playing politics. Oftentimes at the dinner table, if you had a chance to read the book, you would hear about how Dr. Nuila and his father would be at crossroads or loggerheads, if you will, about private care versus public care and how to go about that. His father wasn't a big proponent of, I'm going to say Obamacare because I can't remember the official name of it. His father was having to not take Medicaid because it wasn't paying him enough. And so there's so much that he delves into this book, and it's super, super important that we all get on board, I think. Let me see what else. He definitely talks a lot about Medicine Inc. And his definition of that is how patients have to treat their medical care like consumers. Like sometimes patients don't even know they might qualify for government assistance, but also there are a lot of things that might be risky as far as certain treatment plans, and they are kind of just taking the doctor's word at it. And so there's a lot of complicated things that go into this. So let me just talk about how the People's Hospital got established, because to be quite honest, it took a lot. It took the community caring about the uninsured or underinsured and wanting to be a place of refuge for that. Because again, I'm from Texas, and I've lived all over the place, but everybody doesn't have a Ben Taub. Like Texas is huge. I believe, what is there, 27 million people? I'm probably wrong. I think that number might be off, but I feel like there's 27 million people in Texas. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'll have to look up the statistic. I'm not going to take the time to do that now, but let's see. So we talked about safety net hospitals. Hold on a second. Okay, so the establishment of the People's Hospital was not without its hurdles. Securing funding in the healthcare landscape dominated by for-profit motives was one of the initial challenges. Grants, donations, and public funds were meticulously sought, often falling short, but never dampening the spirits of the founders. Community support played a heavy, indispensable role. Local fund drives and grassroots campaigns garnered both resources and an unwavering belief in the hospital's mission. And that is what we need. There are so many people in this country who literally move states or cities just to get better health care. My parents moved from Killeen, which is about 45 minutes away from Austin. So they moved from Killeen, Texas to Denver, Colorado, I want to say about maybe 5 years ago, to get access to better health care. My parents are both retired. My father is a vet, and he was just not able to get the care in Texas that he is able to get in Denver, even though he's a vet, even though he has access to the VA hospitals. And to be quite honest, the VA hospitals in Texas are not the grandest. And because he's a veteran here, he's able to get housing for veterans. And he has his nurses and nurses' aides come to his home. They monitor him. They make sure that his blood pressure and diabetes are all taken care of. And he was fortunate enough to be able to move states. Just imagine the people who are not. In fact, in this book, I marked it because Geronimo is the young man that has liver failure. And because he was on Medicaid and he was making money, he was making a little bit too much money to qualify for Medicaid. And he needed a liver transplant. They had a liver waiting for him. And it was his amount of money was $179 over the threshold. He almost died because he made $179 too much. And Dr. Nuila and a couple of other people had to contact a U.S. senator. Let me see if I can find the representative they contacted. Let me see. I can't find the person's name. But they had to contact one of the Houston U.S. representatives in the Houston area to get them to override this. And they're like, yes, of course, somebody's life was at stake. What about the people who don't have doctors like the ones at Ben Taub, who are encouraged to be and empowered to work as a team, to call in favors, to write letters, to help people? Let's see what else. Let me see if I can find it. Tuesday, Culberson. Culberson was his name. They were like, please consider his application. This man was about to die. Can you imagine? Everything that you need is set in a row, but because you made too much money to qualify for a life-saving treatment, they weren't going to give it to you. Um, in the book, he also discusses how they have this thing called the gold card. His his father's office often would tell women who were uninsured or underinsured, hey, have you heard of this gold card? The Houstonians have, they support this gold card that allows you to get medical treatment at any of the Houston hospitals that are affiliated with Ben Taub and the MD Anderson complex. The gold card is all you have to do to apply or to qualify for it is to be able to show residency in Houston, not citizenship, not working, just residency. That's all you have to be able to show. And then you get access to health care. And that's super, super important because a lot of times people who are underinsured or not insured at all, they end up waiting to go to the hospital until things are really, really bad because they don't have access to regular medical care. And that's another thing that he talked about a lot in this book. There were so many different stories. He talked about how some of his family members, his grandmother got throat cancer and she was being taken care of in Mexico, and how that turned out for her. He did not like what happened to her and how she was treated. He did a stint as a doctor in Haiti. And I think all of these different experiences, him growing up with his father being a doctor and treating people who were uninsured up until he had to change tactics, this really helped him see some of the shortcomings and the gaps in our healthcare and how to model a blueprint at Ben Taub to help address some of these things. Let me see if there's some other, let me see. Hold on a second. Let me see. What are we doing here? Okay. Let's see. So we talked about the community. Let me get the rest of my notes. So also some of the day-to-day realities of the people that come to Ben Taub, because there's so many different people that come to Ben Taub. Like when you go into Ben Taub and you're in the waiting room, there are people who have insurance, who are fully insured. You could be talking to a bus driver and you're like a CEO of some sort of company and you won't ever know it because everybody goes to Ben Taub. Like Ben Taub, back when I lived in Houston, was known for its burn ward and being really good at gunshots. But sometimes people really wanted to have their babies there too, especially if they had complicated pregnancies, preeclampsia and all that stuff. And so Ben Taub has, like I was saying earlier in that excerpt I read, is really known for its innovative practices and a lot of firsts. And even though it is the People's Hospital, and that's a good name for the book, really, the People's Hospital, sometimes it's known as the Poor People's Hospital. It's not just for people who are quote unquote poor. Everybody goes to Ben Taub. They have some of the best doctors in the whole country there. And that's another thing that he addressed in the book too, is that for a lot of people, they started off at Ben Taub or they interned at Ben Taub, but then they went into private care where they could make more money because these people have student loans to pay back. They have children that they want to put in, private school or live a certain type of lifestyle. And no one is suggesting that they need to sacrifice no one's suggesting that they need to sacrifice anything to fill in the gaps of a huge problem at all. Some people choose to stay like he did. He's been at Ben Taub for about 10 years. Other people maybe stay there for a decade or two or a couple of years. One of the things that he talked about is that doctors are allowed to practice healthcare and medicine in innovative ways. And that is one thing that encourages them to stay. And also the community support from the Houstonians. Let me see what else. I've been talking for about 30 minutes. Let me check and see if anybody has any comments at all. Let me switch out this banner. Oh, you know what I do want to point out to y'all is that I put in the comment section a link to the Lovely from the Library Facebook page. And I put that in there because I am just short of a few followers so that I can live stream on my page again. They changed the rules on Facebook. And to be quite honest, I take tech sabbatical, so I'm not always on Facebook. I'm actually hardly ever on Facebook other than when I do this. So I didn't notice. So if you have not had a chance to like the Lovely from the Library Facebook page, there it's in the top comment section on the Lamb YouTube and on the Lamb Facebook page. Please go and follow that page so that I can stream from there. That's where I put all the updates. And you should follow it there if you want to continue to get updates on all the future books that we are going to be reading. Anywho, I just checked the comment section. It looks like we're good. Let's see. I'm going to share one. If you don't mind, Penny, if you mind, I'll take it down. But Penny said, unfortunately, doctors are notorious for dismissing women and girls. Yes, they are. There are several stories in here. One about Ebony. Let's talk with her. But there have been so many times when I have heard stories or read about them where people will go to the doctor and say, hey, I can't breathe well, or this is going on. And they just keep telling the women, lose weight, you're too fat. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you. Hang on. Thank you, Marissa. I appreciate it so much. Y'all are going to help me get there so I can stream from my Facebook page. It's important because I need the stats to, show folks that people like what I'm doing. Oh, good. But yes, so they will just tell people you're fat. Meanwhile, somebody's been suffering with lung cancer for 4 years because nobody was listening over and over and over again. So sometimes doctors definitely are just trying to rush and hurry up and get through, or they have to fight insurance companies to get paid, especially if they take Medicare patients and whatnot. But a lot of times they're not checking their own biases, and it costs people quality of life, if not their actual life. Please ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. There's far too many people that I have known in person, or I've heard their stories from their own mouth. There are far too many people online who are fundraising for life-saving surgeries or medical procedures, and they work. They have insurance. They work full time, and they still can't afford this. Something has got to give. We need to figure this out. And the reason why I'm saying this is not just because I am a champion for humanity, because I am. Let me take Penny's comment down. Thank you, Penny. Because I am, but more importantly, it affects us too. Our liberations are bound to each other, or they're tied up in each other's future. And if somebody is not able to get the health care they need, it doesn't matter how much resources Lovely's has. I can have all the resources in the world, but if you come into the library and you're sick because you couldn't afford to go to the doctor, then I can get sick too. And I'm not wearing this mask just for fun. I have an autoimmune disorder. I do not want to go back to the hospital. I do not want to risk somebody having a bad day or not liking Black people or mad because I have beautiful rainbow hair or whatever and risk my life on that. And so it is imperative that we figure this out. And there's a combination of policy, support from the community. And to be quite honest, hey, Marissa's giving me claps. Thank you. To be quite honest, I have been on the receiving end of some kindness. Again, since Dr. Nuila has helped to explain some of the policy concerns and issues that he has and some of the solutions through stories, I'm going to tell you just 2 more stories very quickly because I've been talking for 40 minutes, child. I need to wrap it up. When I moved to Pueblo about 10 years ago, we probably had been here for maybe half a year or something before we got a phone call and saying, hey, you need to come pick your niece up and please let her come live with you. Otherwise, she's going into foster care. Um, and so we did that. We were not expecting to have a child, and we didn't have medical power of attorney for her or anything yet. We were working on all of that. But in the meantime, I have this 13-year-old here who has asthma, and I need to get her into the doctor. So I took her down to one of the free clinics here. I want to say it's the one near the library. I'm almost certain it was. It was the one near the library. I told the woman behind the desk what was going on. She looked at me. She goes, "Oh, so you're her aunt and you just adopted her?" And I was like, "Yes." "And you don't have health insurance for her?" And I was like, "Yes." And she said, "Now you do." That was it. That was it. It was some nice lady on a computer said, "Now you do." She is empowered to do that. She was empowered to know that all you have to do is be a resident of an adult person. I didn't know any of those things. I didn't know all the ins and outs, but she did. And she got my baby health insurance so that when my 13-year-old had turned into a 16-year-old, I ain't never been a mama before. I've been a good auntie, but I was never a mama. But I knew this, that when she turned 16 and she needed to go and get therapy, I didn't have to pay for it. It was already done because that lady 3 years ago fixed it so my baby could have health insurance. And it didn't cost us anything because of all the funds and the support from the community in Colorado, not just Pueblo. And it happened again. So after I got all that fluid and stuff removed from my heart and my lungs, I had to keep going back to the doctor. And I was at St. Mary Corwin, and I was going in to get an x-ray. And I was going up to the desk and I was talking to this lady, and I could softly hear Morrissey playing. For those of y'all who are not aware, Morrissey is a popular English singer, and he was in this really cool band called the Smiths. So I start singing the song a little bit, and we start talking about Morrissey. Turns out she is a goth lady, and she loved Morrissey. And because she could see me as a human being, she was like, the x-rays, y'all x-rays are terribly expensive. And they needed to take 4 x-rays. So that was a couple $100s. And I'm like, oh, good Lord. And she goes, "I'm just going to put in here that you was not expecting to pay that much today." And she said, "I still ain't seen the bill, y'all. I still ain't seen the bill. I don't know if there was some fund or something like that, but she saved me $400 because she had been empowered to look for stuff like that. She didn't give me no fuss, no muss. It was nothing. And I will always be grateful to her. And that's what I'm talking about. Things like that are so important. The reason why she was able to do that is because there was a fund there and there was a community support. And I have been the beneficiary of that. And I want everybody else to be the beneficiary of good quality health care like that too. It should not matter. And this is just me stating my personal opinion. You know, opinions are like something that everybody has. Belly buttons, except for Macbeth. Anywho, but I meet so many people working at the library. I meet so many fascinating people from so many different walks of life. And each and every person that comes through that door deserves the same medical care and attention that I got, regardless of being uninsured or underinsured. And it's so important to me that that's why I picked this book. There's probably a few things in here that I did not go over. Oh, you know what? They were talking about in here. Algorithms can do about algorithms and algorithmic care. And they were talking about how algorithms can do good things or terrible things. And how, in this case, they caught this algorithm that was assigning care and how we're going to pay for things. So they assigned it by the most expensive care, thinking these are the people in the need. And it turns out the algorithm ended up discriminating against African Americans because a lot of the things that we needed didn't cost as much, but they were still life-saving in the long run. And so somebody had to be paying attention to tweak it so that we were getting our fair share. Another thing too is those little they have pulsometers. You stick them on your hand so they can check to see how much oxygen you have. Sometimes if you have a lot of melanin, if you're blessed enough to have a lot of melanin like me, a lot of the medical equipment and devices don't work as well on you. And without people paying attention, it can cost, again, more health disparages. Also, with the way our kidneys and kidneys process fluids and things like that. I learned so much being in the hospital, y'all. And learning how sometimes disparaging or inequalities, that's why I keep saying disparaging, I mean inequalities are interwoven in healthcare, and it's not always done on purpose. Sometimes people are not aware that the equipments need to open the lens more so that it can reflect more light when it's looking at deeper melanated skin. Sometimes people have to find out that things aren't working because something bad happens to people. And I don't want that for y'all. I certainly don't want it for me, and I don't want it for y'all either. Let me see. Oh, another thing too is talking about, let me see. Let me put this back up in here because there were some points. I think it was about the disparaging, not disparaging. I keep saying that word. I'm sorry, y'all. We're almost done here. I think, inequities. That is the word I'm looking for. Inequities. So a lot of times people, to qualify for their Medicaid or Medicare, you have to be making below a certain income. There is a young woman in the book, her name was Aquaria. Aquaria was born with HIV, and she was receiving her HIV meds and treatments as long, and she had them since she was a child. Once she kind of moved into adulthood, she lost the access to the treatments that she was getting because she started making more money that kicked her off of the Medicare rolls. The issue with tying your medical care to either a job or to how much you make is a complicated thing because she couldn't earn too much money or she wouldn't be able to take her HIV medicines, but that earning so little amount of money didn't leave a whole bunch of money for her to live on. And so it's super complicated, and things don't always have to be that way, but we need community support. We need policy change that can be navigated and benefited by the nurses and doctors and the practitioners helping their patients. And then one last thing too, Dr. Nuila was also talking about, he told a lot of personal stories, and he told the story of how when his daughter was born, him and his wife had two insurance, so she was doubly insured. And a few years after she was born, they received a $15,000 bill from the doctor. And he was looking at all these things, and it took him a long time to get that bill to go away. 2 years, I think, but he got that bill reduced to zero because he was like, we didn't use this, we didn't use that, this isn't right, this isn't this. But he said it only took him having 10 years of medical insurance and a proclivity to, or it took him 10 years of medical school and medical being a doctor and a proclivity to fight the insurance companies to save him $15,000. Can you imagine how many people don't have the know-how or the wherewithal to navigate said systems? I find it quite interesting how medicine is practiced in this country, and I think that we have a bit of a ways to go to make things a bit more fair. You're worth it, I'm worth it, and I hope that you all enjoyed this book and this book discussion. Let me add this back to the page. If you haven't had a chance, please check the book out on Libby. I'm going to return it in just a minute. The next book that we're going to be reading for August is going to be Tree Thieves, Crime and Survival in North America's Woods. It's by Lindsay Bergen. We're going to be discussing it on August the 15th, 2024. Thank you so much, Penny. Penny, if you haven't had a chance to go and follow the Lovely from the Library Facebook page, I put a link in the comment section. It's probably going to be the first one. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, I'd appreciate it. And again, Next month's book is going to be on August the 15th at 4 p.m. It is The Tree Thieves. Y'all, there's crime in them trees in the logging industry. I cannot wait to discuss this book with you. I appreciate all the live stream viewers being here and the replay viewers. Thank you for giving me a little bit of your time. I appreciate you coming here, and I will see you again next month. Bye. Oh wait, y'all can't see me waving. Bye. Hang on. Let me pop my head back. There we go. Bye. I'll see you guys next month.